This video shows students how to start and submit CISC124 Assignment 1. In this video, I'll show you how to download the Eclipse project file, import the project into Eclipse, edit the file a1.java, run the class a1, and then find the file a1.java on your file system so that you can submit it on OnQ. Students should read the entirety of the assignment file. There's a lot of useful information here, and it introduces information that you may not have yet read in the notebooks. Near the beginning of the document are the style rules that we use in the course. Students should read the style rules and be familiar with them. The next section is the Getting Started section, where you'll find a link to the zip file containing the Eclipse project. You want to click the link and save the zip file. Once you've downloaded the zip file, you want to start Eclipse. When you start Eclipse, it'll ask you which workspace do you want to start in. So the workspace is just the folder where Eclipse will store the files for your project, for the current project. If you haven't created a workspace directory already, I recommend you create one somewhere that you'll be able to find easily. So for example, you might want to create one under your CISC124 folder, and traditionally it's called Workspace in Eclipse. You can launch Eclipse, and when Eclipse launches, you should see the Eclipse IDE. You might see something different than this. You might see what's called the workbench. If you see the workbench, just click the play button and it'll take you to the IDE. To import the project, you can either click that link there, or you can go into File, Import. Under General, you want to click Existing Projects in the Workspace. Then you want to click Select Archive File and browse to the folder containing the archive file. So mine's under Downloads. You want to select the file, press Open. You should see a little check mark beside CISC124 A1, so that's the project that we're going to import. If you've done this once already, you may not be able to check that box. So if you've already imported the project once, you'll have to go into your file manager, find the location of the workspace folder, and then delete the directory called CISC124_A1. Assuming you can check this, click Finish, and the project will appear in the Package Explorer. Click the little arrow beside CISC124 A1, click the little arrow beside SRC, and then click the little arrow beside A1, and you'll find the file that you need to edit in this assignment. Double click the file, and it should appear in the editor here. If you look at the file, you'll see that there's a fair bit of code here. So you get a fair bit of starting code. The file will actually compile. So this is a technically correct class. So you can actually run it by pressing the green Run button up here. And if you run it, you'll see some output in the console down here. What's being run is the main method of the file a1.java. All the main method does is it just calls every method that you need to complete in this assignment, and then prints out the result of calling the method. So here it's telling you it's calling the method maxint, and that's the result that I got. It's calling the method minint, you got the value 0. It's calling the method maxdouble, got the value 0.0, and so on and so on. And so your task in this assignment is to complete all of these methods. So the first method's already completed for you. The first method's called maxint. If you read the assignment document, it tells you what these static methods are. And so a static method in Java is the closest thing to a Python function. So this section up here describes what all of the keywords such as public and static and int mean. So if you read this section here, it should make a lot more sense to you. The next section describes to you the main method, right? And so what exactly is the main method doing? Well, it's just calling each one of the methods in the class. And then you'll get to the section called the assignment task, where it tells you you have to fill in the remaining 7 methods of the class. For each method, there is some information, right? So this talks about the primitive types int and double. It tells you that for the primitive type int, there are some constants that are useful, such as the largest int and the smallest int, and you can find that information here. It's also in the int notebook. But if you look up the documentation for the class java.lang.integer, you can find that there are some constants here that are defined for the int types. So the first method returns the maximum or most positive value that an int can represent. And that's just the value integer.maxValue, right there. And so the method maxInt is completed for you. And this is basically a template for many of the remaining methods. So the next method that you have to fill in is called Minint. So that's supposed to return the minimum or most negative value that an int can represent. Again, if you look at the documentation for the class, you can see there's something called minValue, and that is in fact the constant holding the minimum value an int can have. And so what you can do is just complete this method now. So you can use maxInt as a template. When you write that one line of code, you'll see that Eclipse issues a warning. So it's trying to tell you, with the little light bulb and the squiggly orange underline, that you've made this variable called result, but you're not using it for anything. And that's true. We're not using it for anything after line 27. So we can fix that by actually returning result. Once you've completed a method, you can go back and once you've completed a method, you should save the file. So use Control S or save up here. And then you can run the file again. So if you click on the run button, we can see that minint, right? When we run the minint method, we get that value there. And basically, you just want to continue through the class and implement the methods in the order that they're shown in the class. Above each method is some documentation. So let's call it the Javadoc comment. The Javadoc comment describes what the method's supposed to do. Right? So max double should return the maximum or most positive value less than infinity that a double can represent. And so you go ahead and fill in this method. And when you fill in the method, run the method, look at the output, ask yourself, does the output match what you think it should, what you think the answer should be? And if it does, you just keep on going. If it doesn't match, you should go back to the method, change the method, save the file, and rerun it again. When you're done the assignment, you need to find this file a1.java. And so one way to do it is to right-click on a1.java in the Explorer and go to Properties. In Properties, it'll tell you the location on your file system where the file is located. If you click Show in System Explorer, it will actually open up the File Explorer and take you to the folder where the file is contained. Right? Then in OnQ, you can submit that file to OnQ. You have to make sure you submit a1.java, and you also have to make sure that you submit the right version of a1.java. So if you've opened up this project in several different places, you need to know where is the correct location of this file. Right? So often students will hand in the original version of a1.java. So they will have unzipped the project file somewhere, and then when they go to look for a1.java, they'll find the a1.java that was in the original zip file and submit that. If you submit that, you'll obviously get a 0 on the assignment because that file doesn't have any of the changes that you've made. Right? So you need to make sure that you submit the right file. Another thing that, another type of file that students will often submit is not the Java file, but instead they'll submit the class file. That one there. Don't submit that one, because I can't do anything with that file. It's a1.class is the compiled version of a1.java, and I can't actually read that because it's not plain text anymore. It's the compiled version of the file. So remember, we need to see A1.java when you submit it. Right, and you'll submit that on queue. You can submit as many times as you like. The assignment is set up so that it only keeps the most recent version of the submission. Right, so submit as many times as you like up to the due date, and that's it. Once you submit the file, you're done. The assignment shouldn't take you very long if you've read the notebooks. The purpose of the assignment is mostly to make sure that students have a running version of a Java development environment, and that you're actually reading the notebooks at a reasonable pace. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Good luck on the assignment. Feel free to contact the TAs or myself during our office hours and ask questions about the assignment.